All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We are going to take a classic Hindi ghost story and just pull it apart, piece by terrifying piece. We're going to see exactly how it builds that creeping sense of pure dread, beat by beat, to really understand how a master storyteller can craft horror from almost nothing. But first, let me ask you a question. And I mean, really think about it. What is the most terrifying part of being truly, hopelessly lost? Is it the dark? Or maybe that feeling of being completely disconnected from everything? What's that one thing that would scare you the most? It's that moment, that sudden, chilling realization that someone or something is out there with you in the middle of nowhere. And with that thought, let's begin our story. Okay, so let's get into it. You see, every great ghost story has to start by making its hero vulnerable. It needs to strip away their sense of safety, take away their control, and just leave them completely exposed. And this story, it does that perfectly. So, meet Raghu. He's just a guy on his bicycle, trying to get to a town called Kusumpur. But right away, the story signals that the world itself is turning against him. That ash-colored sky, the air getting heavy and still, you know these are the first warning signs that things are about to go very, very wrong. And bam, just like that, the trap is set. A crazy storm just erupts out of nowhere, turning the road into impassable mud. So now Raghu is soaked, he's lost, and he's totally alone. And then, wouldn't you know it, out of the gloom, a stranger named Ratan appears, offering him a place to stay. I mean, at this point, what's Raghu gonna do? He's desperate. He has no choice but to say yes. He walks right into the spider's web. So Raghu thinks he's found a safe haven, right? But this is where the story starts doing its real work. This is where it begins to plant these tiny, unsettling seeds of doubt that tell you something is deeply, deeply wrong here. And here's the first big red flag. It's not something you see, it's something you smell. As Raghu follows this stranger, Ratan, he starts to notice this very specific, very strange odor hanging in the damp air. This is just brilliant, because horror works best when it messes with our most primal senses. It's not a monster jumping out, it's just a smell. The smell of something burnt. You know, it's like this ghostly trace of a past tragedy just hanging there like a warning that Raghu is way too desperate to understand. At least, not yet. Now, the story gives us this incredibly subtle clue, but it's one that's physically impossible. Think about it. There's a hurricane raging outside. The wind is literally tearing at this tiny hut, but the little flame inside the lantern, it's perfectly still. It's not even flickering. This is huge. It tells Raghu, and it tells us, that the normal laws of physics do not apply in this place. This isn't a real hut. It's an echo, a memory stuck out of time. And this is where the tension just skyrockets. A woman named Jumor shows up, and all you hear at first is the sound of her anklets. She does something totally normal, offers Raghu a bed leaf. But then suddenly, that burnt smell is replaced by something way worse, the smell of raw blood. And then a gust of wind, the same wind that couldn't touch the lantern flame, mind you, lifts her veil. And Raghu sees it, a thin, terrible line of blood across her throat. The whole illusion is starting to crack. Now we get to a classic horror move, the story within the story. Instead of just showing us some monster, the narrative forces our hero to sit there and listen to the whole gruesome backstory. And get this, from the mouth of the ghost himself. Ratan can see Raghu is freaked out, so he suggests, hey, let's tell a story to pass the time. But this isn't just any story. No way. This is a confession. He's about to explain everything. The burnt smell, the blood, that impossible lantern flame. He's literally about to tell Raghu exactly what happened on this very spot 3 years ago. And here it is, the whole tragedy laid out in all its brutal detail. The tea shop owner, who we now know as Ratan, found his wife, Jumor, with another man. In a jealous rage, he killed her. Then he strangled the lover and hung him from the rafters. And finally, completely lost in grief, he burned the whole place to the ground, with himself inside. Just imagine. Raghu is trapped, forced to listen to a ghost tell the story of his own murder-suicide. So, then comes the morning. The storm is gone, the night of terror is finally over, and the clear light of day brings the story's final, absolutely sickening twist. This is where reality comes crashing back in. Raghu gets out of there at dawn, totally shaken but just relieved to be alive. He starts cycling away. But then, and this is such a classic horror movie move, he realizes he left something behind. his bag of money. And it's this simple, everyday mistake that forces him to turn around and face the truth of what he just experienced. And this is the gut punch. He gets back to the spot where that cozy little tea shop was just a few hours ago, and he finds this, a burnt-out skeletal ruin. There's nothing there. The shelter was never real. The food, the people, the conversation, it was all just a ghostly replay, an endless echo of that one violent night. But oh no, the story isn't done with Raghu yet. See, now he knows the truth in his head, but he's about to get terrifying physical proof. This is the climax. This is where the world of the ghosts and the real world slam into each other one last time. He hears a voice behind him. It's Jumar, the murdered wife, and she's holding his very real, very solid bag of money. This confirms it. The phantoms he spent the night with can touch his world. The barrier between life and death is completely gone. And just like it did in the ghostly hut, a sudden gust of wind whips through the ruins, and it pulls the veil from her face for one final, horrifying reveal. And there it is. It's not the illusion of the beautiful woman with a single, neat mine of blood. No, it's the full horror of her death, a mangled, blood-soaked face, the true face of the ghost. I mean, what else can you do? Faced with the impossible, made terrifyingly real, Raghu's mind just breaks. It shuts down. He collapses, the only living person to ever witness a tragedy that's doomed to repeat itself forever. Which really brings us to our last question. When Ratan was telling Raghu his story, what was he really doing? Was he just reliving his own trauma over and over? Was he maybe trying to warn Raghu? Or was the entire night just an elaborate, ghostly trap designed to lure a new victim into their endless cycle of suffering? It's something to think about, isn't it? Especially the next time you find yourself lost on a dark and stormy night.